Hi, welcome to the Big Life NYC podcast. I'm Roderick Angle. In this podcast, I speak with longtime New York City residents to gather their tips and tricks for having a great life in one of the toughest cities in the world. Today, my guest is Cindy Gallop. Cindy originally comes from the advertising industry. She founded the U.S. branch of Bartle, Bogle, and Hegarty in 1998 and served as the board chair for many, many years. Cindy is a sought-after speaker, coach, and mentor, as well as an entrepreneur with a social conscience. At the TED conference in 2009, Cindy launched a web-based platform called Make Love Not Porn. But along the way, Cindy has managed to live in some of the most fabulous and daring residences I have ever seen in New York City. She had the audacity to paint her massive loft on 23rd Street all black. It was known as the Black Apartment. How we met was from the Black Apartment.
Yep.
And this was a couple decades ago, I think.
In fact, I bought the space that came with Black Apartment 21 years ago.
21 years ago.
Yeah.
So you had this apartment on West 23rd Street. It was a former YMCA, correct?
Yep.
And this was a huge space. It was one of the largest open loft apartment spaces I've ever seen. And our very good friend, Stefan Bublil, had this amazing interior design company called The Apartment.
Yeah, that's right.
And you hired him to be your interior designer. And he turned the entire place black. And it became known as the Black Apartment. Not just black, but dark. Black carpeting, black walls with a lot of shiny silver disco ball. I remember the open shower. There was no walls in the bathroom. So it was just one of those places that when you walk in is just wow, you know. How did you work with Stefan? I mean, it was a huge space that you hired an interior design company to decorate for you. What was your brief?
Well, actually, just to be very clear, Roderick, I didn't hire them to decorate. I hired them to build the apartment.
To build the apartment.
Because I basically bought 3,800 square feet of raw space in the old YMCA on West 23rd because I couldn't afford a ready-to-move-into apartment. Okay. And so it was literally piles of rubble. And the fun thing about it was...
I didn't know that because I saw it when it was done,
oh my gosh,
basically.
No. So the fun thing about it is that I bought...
I came in to shoot the pictures.
Right. I bought the front half of the 6th floor of the Y.
Yeah.
Which is where they used to have their indoor pool in the back half. So my apartment was literally the men's locker and shower rooms at the YMCA.
Wow.
I basically lived where Village People wrote the song about, gay Chelsea cultural epicenter, great feng shui, I always said. And so literally, Stefan and Gina, his wife, had bought another huge amount of space in the same building.
Yeah, that's right.
And I realized very quickly, I was running BBH New Yorker at the time. This was a second full-time job on top of my existing full-time job. And so I hired them to build and project manage and, design and decorate the apartment. And I always remember the moment of revelation because Stefan said, okay, Cindy, what's the brief? And I went, oh my God, I've never briefed an apartment before.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. And Stefan said to me, Cindy, it's very simple. All your life, you've moved into rental apartments where you've had to make your life fit with the apartment. So you've gone, so when I want a glass of water in the middle of the night, I would get up here, go over there. He said, this is where we design an apartment to fit with the way you like to live your life.
Right.
So all you have to do is tell us what you like doing. From the moment you get up in the morning, the moment you get to bed at night, we'll design for it.
That's great.
And I went, wow,
right.
Gosh, because it had been a very traumatic purchase. The developer was a nightmare.
Right.
And so I'd lost sight of the fact that the best thing about building an apartment from ground zero is you can make everything work exactly the way you want it to.
Right.
So I started...
So did they convert it to a co-op? Was that?
No, it was a condo.
It was a condo, okay, yeah.
So I started off tentatively. I went, okay, here's my overarching dilemma.
Yeah.
I love open plan loft living, but I have a very big art collection with the emphasis on big. We're talking acreage.
Yeah, you have a great art collection.
Walls to hang it on.
Yeah.
So Stefan went, we can design for that.
Right.
And so what they did was...
And the shoe collection.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what they did was, there were two structural pillars in the middle of the apartment, couldn't be moved. They built art closets around that, which gave me some place to store my art, but also created 8 new walls that I could actually hang art on. I said, to your point, I love my shoe collection.
Yeah.
It's art.
Yeah.
I want to display it.
Yeah.
They built shelves for the shoe collection all the way down,
that's incredible.
the living area.
Yeah.
I said, I hate cooking. I never do it.
Right.
But I'm lucky enough to have friends who are great chefs who will come around and cook for me. Stefan said, okay, what that means is your kitchen should not take up very much space, but what there is should be very high end.
Right.
So my kitchen was down one wall, but it had a 6-ring Miele burner. You know, it had a Sub-Zero fridge. My friends were great chefs, loved cooking on it. And so I went, wow, this is amazing. I thought, now's my chance. Because a few years earlier, I had been in one of my favorite cities in the world, Shanghai, in one of my favorite bars in the world, which sadly no longer exists. It was called the Glamour Bar, drinking my favorite cocktail in the world, a martini. And the Glamour Bar was beautifully lit and beautifully designed. I remember sitting there on my second martini, 3 sheets in the wind,
right.
looking around me in a drunken haze going, I wish I lived somewhere like this. And so I thought, right. And I said to Stefan and his team, here's the overall brief for this apartment. When night falls, I want to feel like we're in a bar in Shanghai.
Right.
And they went, we can do that. And so they went off. They researched bars and lounges in Shanghai. And that was when they came back and they said, okay, here's our vision. Floor, ceiling, walls, all black. And I went, ah!
Right.
And they went, no. They went, it's large enough and light enough to take it. We'll paint it gloss black so the light reflects off it so it's not oppressive. And it'll make all your art belongings really pop.
Yeah.
And it did, because people would visit me who had no idea I lived in an all-black apartment because it made everything look so colourful. And by the way, my other overall brief for the apartment was, I said, I want any guy who walks into the front door to be a sure thing within 2 minutes. And they were.
That sounds like a success.
It certainly was.
Because it was called the Black Apartment, but that doesn't really do it. It does it a disservice because it was a lot of glittery and glass
and colour
brightness coming out.
Including artworks of yours.
Including artworks of mine, yes.
Specially created for the Black Apartment.
Yes,
and by the way, I will just say to our listeners that all you have to do is Google the Black Apartment.
Yes,
and
that's what it comes up.
Because it was covered a lot, and there are a lot of photographs of it online.
And some great parties there.
Oh,
a lot of great parties.
Yeah,
I shot you for your birthday.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's right. So for my 50th birthday, the theme was "Come as your ultimate Helmut Newton fantasy."
Right.
And so you and Stefan had this great idea of basically making the invitation be a very famous Helmut Newton photograph, which is
of a man surveying 2 women,
two female models, scantily clad.
Yeah.
And so we flipped the gender. It became me surveying 2 scantily clad male models.
Right.
And that was my 50th birthday party invitation. Yeah. And also, you very kindly gave me a print of it, which now hangs on the wall of the Sky apartment, which is my current apartment.
Great.
And is much admired by visitors.
Cool. Very cool.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table. And emotion, too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Great. So that I don't know of the Sky apartment. So what happened there?
Right.
So you sold the Black Apartment.
Yeah. So basically, I bought and built the Black Apartment in my past life as a high-flying, highly paid ad exec.
Right.
Now I am bootstrapping entrepreneur. I went, we don't need this mortgage. So basically, I sold the Black Apartment. The game plan was downsize, use the profit to buy the next apartment all cash, mortgage-free. So and
you succeeded in that.
I did.
Good.
Because I then pursued my New York real estate philosophy of always go looking for what nobody else wants. Because the only way to afford a nice apartment in New York is to buy a shithole and renovate it. Yeah. So I raked Street Easy, looking for what nobody else wanted.
Right.
And I found the listing of my current apartment, which spoke to me for 2 reasons that would have had everybody else run in the opposite direction. Right. Which, by the way, they clearly had, because at that point, it had been in the market for 8 months, no one had bought it.
Right.
Reason number 1 it spoke to me was...
How many years ago is this?
This was in 2015.
2015, okay.
So the reason the listing spoke to me
Pretty hot market then.
Reason number 1, there were 0 photographs of the apartment on the listing. I went, great, it's a shithole.
Yeah, perfect.
It's clearly so bad, they couldn't even cheat a tiny corner photographically.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Borne out by point number 2, the copy said, bring your vision and your architect.
Right. That means
I
it's
went,
a
great,
disaster.
it's a total shithole.
It's a total shithole.
So I called my broker, went, right, I want to go and see this one.
Yeah.
So he calls the other broker, makes an appointment, comes back, says, okay, Cindy, we're going to go on this day at this time. Then he said to me, oh, and by the way, just so you know, the other broker said to me, I hope your client has a lot of imagination. So he goes, she's got nothing but imagination, but I'm going, loving these vibes.
Right.
He was talking my
Perfect.
language already. So on the appointed day, we turn up at 445 Fifth Avenue.
Right.
Which from the outside is a very nondescript building, very tall, residential. Can't tell at all what we're going to find. We meet the other broker in the lobby, and she says to us, before we go up, let me just prepare you.
Right.
So this is getting better. So she said, this building was built 35 years ago. The developer built on the roof, side by side, effectively 2 small houses. There are 2 penthouses, triplexes, penthouse A, penthouse B. She said, we're going to go and see penthouse A, and penthouse A is lived in by a hoarder. And internally I went, ka-ching,
Right.
jackpot. And she said, let me tell you, it was way worse when we first saw it. At least he's now cleared paths of the stuff. You can vaguely see into the rooms. And I'm just thinking all my Christmas has come at once.
Yeah, hoarder penthouse.
So the broker is very startled at the fact that I'm completely unfazed at hearing this. As we went up in the elevator, she said to me, people with vision come here. They lose their vision instantly.
Right.
So if some idea of how bad it was, but in fact she was deliberately underselling all the way to the front door. So I walked into what is now my apartment. It was jam-packed full of stuff, piled high, couldn't see a thing behind it, plus had not been touched maintenance-wise in 35 years.
Right.
There were holes in the walls, the windows were covered in crap. It was so bad the broker would not let me take photographs or before picture. But behind it, I saw, it's on the 33rd, 34th, 35th floors. First floor, living dining area, small kitchen, guest bathroom, enormous terrace. Next floor up, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, smaller terrace outside both. Third floor, all roof terrace, gigantic, and the views are outstanding.
Wow.
And I went, this is my apartment. And because everybody else ran screaming, it was a total bargain for Manhattan.
Wow.
But it then required a full-on gut renovation of everything.
Right.
That was the next 2.5 years of stress, trauma, aggravation, spiraling debt. But at the end of it, I have a unicorn of an apartment.
That sounds amazing.
And I've called it the Sky Apartment.
The Sky Apartment.
That's where it is.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so did you have another interior design team that came in and did it? Or?
So actually,
because I know Stefan is...
because Stefan and Gina were abroad.
Yeah.
And so my very dear friend Daniel Fliebert, who is a brilliant architect and designer, so he designed the Sky Apartment.
Wow. I love it. I want to see it.
You have to come round.
I want to see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I always ask... When we get to this point in the interview, I always ask my guests, what's your advice for having a great life in New York City? But I think you just gave it. I think you just gave kind of an extended, buy something that nobody else wants.
But absolutely. Always go looking at what nobody else wants, because that's where you will find the hidden gems. And by the way, big shout out for my neighborhood, Midtown East.
Right.
Because nobody tends to think of that as a residential neighborhood. There are still absolutely bargains there to be had.
Yeah.
Because once I moved into the Sky Apartment, I wanted neighbors. So I've said to all my friends, come and buy here. And so I searched listings for them, and I found my friend Julie a 1-bedroom penthouse a few blocks away with a wraparound terrace on 3 sides for under $1 million.
Wow.
I mean, this is again, back in the day, it was like 7 years ago, whatever. But honestly, I love Midtown East, and there really are bargains to be found if you go looking for what nobody else wants.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming, and it's great to see you again after all these years.
Likewise.
It's been great.
This has been so much fun, Roderick. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been really great. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on my channel. Subscribe if you like the content you're seeing and listening to. Make sure to check out the More Network to see other podcasts from Brown Harris Stevens. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Thanks, Cindy.
Pleasure.
Great.